Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Fuel Racing League IndyCar Series. It's the RaceTrackDesigns IndyCar Series, and welcome to round number 7 here at Richmond. Last week at Detroit, we had a wild one with a lot of our front runners getting caught up in some accidents early in the race, but a surprise winner, Jason Brophy, getting it done, and hopefully we'll be getting another win here today, but he'll be starting further back in the field around 18th position. My name is Sam Dyer, and with me I've got Anthony. Anthony, you're in the booth for the first race here for the Fuel guys, and it's at Richmond. What are you expecting to see from these drivers?
Well, I've always been excited to commentate an IndyCar race, and what better one to do on a Fuel League? And it's also my home track, so even better. So we get to have IndyCars, my home track. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fast here at this short track of Richmond, and it's going to be a blast to see as all these drivers really looking for redemption. I mean, up front, it's going to be Riley Thompson who's going to be running in 4th position as we're going to do a quick rundown of our grid. As we got Andrew Wood in 1st place, Jason Brophy, always a favorite here at the Ovals. And then back in 3rd place, got Mitch Welker, Riley Thompson. Mitch Welker caught up in that lap 1, turn 2 incident. And hopefully he'll get some redemption here as he's also quick at the Ovals. 5th place, you got Will Roberts, Eric Gonzalez. And then in 7th, you've got last season's champion, Nicholas Johnston. And that one machine looking to come back. He was the leading in points, but after missing a couple of races and some early cautions, that one machine not looking so hot in the points. Then you've got Kai Bommersbach in 8th place. 9th, you got Danny Roberts. And then you've also got 10th, David Kolb. And then the rest of the grid will go down as we keep on looking. But Anthony, these drivers here at Richmond, it's a quick, short track. And with this open wheel setups and how much downforce there is, it's looking like it's going to probably be a one-groove track, but can we see anyone possibly make that second groove work?
Well, Richmond has always been known as a one-groove track. The inside line is definitely the preferred line, and with a high downforce car as an IndyCar, these Dallara IR18s, they love to run the bottom line, and they kind of glue to the track. And we're seeing lap times around this track. It's a 3/4 mile track, but we're seeing lap times in the 15-second range, and anywhere between 15 to 16 seconds, and that's a green flag race lap. That's not a qualifying lap. So these laps are going to go by super quick. We only have 180 laps here tonight, but we should see some high intense action, and maybe the outside line will come into play. Maybe the middle groove of the track could work because of the high downforce. You might be able to run a little bit more full throttle through there and get a run down the back and front stretch, and hopefully you don't run into each other. These are going to be lightning fast laps.
It's going to be extremely quick. I mean, putting down lap times or you've seen stock cars put down at Bristol, so it's going to be quick. 180 laps will probably go in a flash. These drivers are going to have to deal with a lot, and I believe this is going to be a one pit stop race for these drivers. So the halfway point is where they're going to be looking for, but Andrew Wood taking us to the green. It's Brophy on the outside.
It's a good start. If they go down to turn 1 for the first time, it looks like everyone's trying to get it good. It looks like Wood's going to have a bit of an advantage going down the back stretch, and so far so clean as everyone kind of single files out down through the race, and looks like we're running pretty clean at the moment.
Very clean at the moment, and Andrew Wood leading our first lap here at Richmond. Finished 3rd last week in one of his few of races being ran this season for that 64 machine, so looking to have another great day here, but he's got to watch out for that 88 machine of Jason Brophy. A track that's pretty similar to this is Iowa, and last season we saw Jason Brophy lead every single lap there, so always a driver to watch out for at these short, speedy tracks here in the IndyCars.
Yeah, a very similar track indeed. This is a D-shaped oval, but it's the shortest track these guys are going to go to this year. Jason Brophy seems to do well at these tracks. I've been watching a little bit of these races during when I'm not commentating a race, and we have noticed that a lot of these drivers favor the ovals, but so far, everyone's been pretty okay. We got a little battle going on here for 3rd as Riley Thompson is trying to run down Mitch Welker for the 3rd position, and you know, like we said, we've been talking here, and already so many laps have flown by. We're already coming to lap 6 out of 180.
Yeah, these flaps are going to continue to tick down, and Riley Thompson also looking for redemption, as last week the front runner to win at Detroit had internet issues that made it to where the 56 machine finished all the way back in 8th place, and also finished a lap down. So 56 of Riley Thompson looking to come back. Battles that are going on around 8th and 7th place. You've got Will Roberts and Danny Roberts side by side here into corner number 1.
Now the side-by-side move, it looks like he's going to try and get the run done. Danny Roberts trying to hold that line, or trying to get around him on the inside, but it looks like he's going to fall backwards. There's also a pretty big group of cars towards the back of the pack, and that starts with the 33 of Barrett Rolfe. Now, you said that he was last week's winner. He's running back here in the 15th position. He's doing pretty good, all things considered.
Kind of gets the wall.
That's going to be a little bit of damage. Hopefully it wasn't that bad, but there's a big group of cars here, and that's going to hinder any progress you're trying to make going up to the front. These guys are racing aggressive back here, and it's amazing that they're keeping it clean. As it looks like Doug South is way down on the racetrack. He pushed Evan Adams up the racetrack, but I think everyone's going to make it out okay.
Yeah, Adams is running extremely high, trying to make that outside line work and getting close to the outside wall on exit almost every single time. Other battles that are going on, I mean, these guys are still side by side. I mean, you got this battle for 18th place with that of Adams, and then behind that, Brent Jones able to get by Mike Hurley. A couple of drivers that are no longer and did not get started in this race. Cohen Evans, as well as Joseph DeSuro, as well as Christian Alacio, were not able to start out this race and will not be putting down a lap.
The 64 is slow. I'm not sure what's happening with the 64 of Andrew Wood, but he is severely slow. He's got front-end damage. He was our leader.
Huge front-end damage for that 64 machine. As we're going to take a quick replay to figure out what happened to our leader. And it looked like it was coming out of 4 is when this contact made happen. Coming out of 4, gets loose and into the wall, outside wall for the 64 of Woods. An awful result after he was being up front, looking like a car to watch out for. Yellow flag out.
The 8 car was spun around on the front stretch. I'm not sure what happened.
8 car spinning out, and we're going to go back and take a look on what happened. As the white and black machine coming out of 4, same spot that Woods had troubles with is where South had issues. Just came out of 4 and spun it around. Luckily did not make any contact with anyone, but that is disastrous for what happened to the 64, but a lot of luck to the 8, who was still alive.
Yeah, that was a huge break for some of these drivers. It was getting really spread out. Jason Brophy had a pretty big lead over, at the time it was 3rd place, now it's 2nd place, but tough break for Andrew Wood, who had a dominant car, was pulling away from Brophy, and then had that little incident out of the 4th turn, and they're spending a lot of time on pit road. They haven't gotten that car back out on the racetrack. He's going to go multiple laps down at this point.
A couple of drivers that are running up front. Matt Hollabaugh, who was running around, I believe that was the 8th position in the 0-2, coming down to the pits, and there's a 14th on back decided to come in. So we'll see if the fresher tires, only about 15 lap fresher tires, have anything to work with against these leaders on the older tires.
This track is, again, so small that the tire wear is going to happen quite quickly at this track, as you're taking these turns at well over what a normal car would be able to take. I mean, we only have NASCAR to really gauge how fast this lap is, and they can run 20-second laps. We're running 5 seconds faster than that. These tires are going to go off pretty quick. And these are a bit of a harder compounded tires that we normally run on Indy cars, but just to be able to keep the wear down. But still, those 15 laps extra, that could be a huge factor to some of these runners at the back of the pack.
Yeah, it really can be something huge that these drivers are going to continue to watch out for. Really, the only information that we have on these drivers at Richmond before this time, just looking through the old places, but really last season at Iowa, we saw Jason Brophy in the 88 machine dominate, leading every single lap there. And that was actually a charity event where each lap that he led was being matched by $1 for a charity last season. And it's awesome to see these drivers doing charities throughout the season. We'll see what the next one is going to be. But Jason Brophy leading the way so far as pace lights are still on.
Andrew Wood, want to touch on him again. He still hasn't gone off pit road. Whatever the damage on the front wing of that car is, it must be more than just the front wing. I'm thinking it has to be something suspension related, because there's no movement on the 64 car, and I don't think there's any indication he's leaving his pit box anytime soon.
Yeah, usually if it's just a front wing issue, they can get that repaired in about 18 seconds or so. This looks like you said, suspension, maybe anything power-wise. A lot of damage to that 64 machine, who looks to be our first victim of the race. Did not bring out our first caution. That goes to the 8 machine of Doug South, who at the moment 1 lap down, but at the end of the line.
Yeah, he's not going to be a factor on the restart, I don't think. But we noticed that right before the yellow came out, that these drivers were almost ready to lap the tail end of the field. Again, a product of this track being so short is that we're going to see some lap traffic very early on. That could play a huge factor into the way that the field spreads out, because you might get a huge lead, and that's cool, but you might end up hitting some traffic you have to get through and slow down your progress. To see as we're about ready to go back to green here at Richmond.
Getting ready to go green, and these drivers ready to get going again. Like you said, these drivers were close to making lap traffic, and with their lap traffic could be a factor if we go green for longer than 20 laps. If we go green for any longer than 20 laps, it's just going to be chaotic for these drivers up front. As green flag in the air, Jason Brophy leading the charge.
A big jump over Mitch Welker in the 76, rather. He got a big jump. He's now 3 or 4 car lengths to the good, and we got a car going to the inside. I believe that was Eric Gonzalez in the 42 trying to pass. I believe that's the 1 car of Nick Johnston that he's trying to pass. And oh, there's a lot of contact almost there. They're getting closer and closer to each other. Will Roberts is looking at a run, and here comes Danny Roberts trying to get to the inside of Will. Looks like everyone's going to fan out. So far, so good.
That was the 77 that you watched on your screen that was just deeping and diving everywhere up there. It's leading this second pack is going to be the one of Nick Johnston, and Johnston's going to be doing his best to hold back Eric Gonzalez, as both these drivers had troubles last week in the first couple of laps at Detroit, and really was making a lot of trouble for a lot of machines. It's the 70 machine of Sarah Tessum. Heavy damage for the 70 machine, running low and going to be headed to the pits.
No yellow flag. I think we're still green. That's a horrible incident, though. It looks like they maybe got a little piece of the wall. We've seen a lot of drivers do that. Most notably, our leader was one of the ones that did that. This time out of turn 2, I believe. Tough break for Sarah Tessum.
Sarah Tessum coming out of 2, and that's when we saw her have some issues. Looks like she possibly, got loose off the corner, hard into the inside wall, and that's what took out the 70 here today.
I've seen a lot of drivers, when they drive it out of the turns, that they get a little loose. I saw during all practice that was the thing that most of these drivers had struggled with, was getting power down and not spinning the car. And most of our drivers, in fact, more than 90% of our drivers were doing okay with it, but every now and again you would see them try to push the limits of what these cars can actually do. The downforce is prevalent, but it's not enough to stop your car from having a complete spin. So we're seeing a lot of products of those incidents on practice during the race, and you got to feel bad for some of these drivers who are just trying to run fast laps, but this track still not quite ushered in as the grip track that we're used to seeing later in the race.
Looking at the track temp, it's going to be that middle number, 81 degrees is that track temp. It's actually a cooler day than most racetracks, just because the sun is going down. These drivers are, the track should be cooling off more and more as the night goes on. But it's already slick and just getting on the power too soon. That's what's costing a lot of these drivers, as we're on board with Will Roberts trying to get by Eric Gonzalez.
And behind Will Roberts, we have Danny Roberts being defensive against the 11 of David Caliban. I've seen David try to have a run at Danny every now and again into the turns, but so far not doing it. But as you said up front, Will Roberts is having a go at Eric Gonzalez, and he's going to try to dive into the inside. I don't think he's going to make it stick, not quite enough room, and now Eric's going to pull away a bit down the front stretch.
And Eric is going to be getting that momentum, but here comes Will once again, trying to make that inside line work a little bit more, inching closer and closer to that yellow line. Now this is a short track, so you can go under the yellow line or utilize it, but I would feel like with these machines and how much downforce is important, you really don't want to mess up with the elevation or with the grade that the track is at, really.
It's not a very smooth transition down under the yellow line. I've hit that line so many times, and even a stock car, and it just bounces your car back up the racetrack. And with how loose these cars have to run in order to get around this track at the speeds that they're going, you hit that, it's almost a death sentence with you in the wall. And Would it work in theory? Maybe not in the backstretch, but definitely not in the turns.
Definitely not, as it looks. I mean, the gap that we're seeing for Jason Brophy compared to the rest of the field is about 2 seconds over Mitch Welker and continues to grow. But as that lead grows, and the more that we've been out here on track, been on this run for about 18 laps or so, and we're inching closer and closer to the back end of the field. So Mitch Welker, lap traffic here probably in the next 10 to 15 laps.
That would be, I believe, the first car that he would encounter would be the 49 of Brent Jones, who is running at the very end of the pack. He's running some competitive lap times. He's running in the 16s, but all of our drivers are running within 0.3 of each other. And that just shows you how much 0.3 a lap, not even 0.3 a lap will do, because we have one driver who's rocketed almost around the entire racetrack, and he's almost caught the tail end, and he's only running 0.3 off the pace.
And up front, moving to the battle for second place, Mitch Welker has a gearbox full of that 56 of Riley Thompson. Mitch Welker trying to hold off the best that he can between himself and the 56.
It's a pretty big battle going on, and it looks like that they're trying to get in. Dirty air doesn't really seem to affect these cars as much as I thought they would. We're running slow enough that through these turns it doesn't seem to matter since you have to get on the brakes anyway, but still going 150 through these turns is, you would expect dirty air to maybe play a factor, but like I said, I don't think it's really playing that big of a deal as I thought it would.
Yeah, and even tire wear is going to be something interesting to watch out for, because the drivers that pitted, they're really not running too much faster. If anything, they're running just as fast as the cars in front of them. So it looks like you might need a little bit more wear and tear on your tires before you see really any difference between fresh and old.
That's true, and maybe they were trying to experiment with it, and maybe later on in the run we might see it come into play where they have some fresher rubber towards the end of a run, like you mentioned. Maybe that'll give them a little bit of boost that they're looking for. As I'm looking on the relative, it looks like that the leader's about ready to catch the tail end of our field, and I don't think he's going to have too much trouble because it's a single car at a time. We'll have to just, keep an eye on that just in case. But up at the front, not at the front, the 59 of Adams and Simpson are going for a battle.
Yeah, Chad Simpson as well as Evan Adams. That's probably the closest action if Brophy can get by Brent Jones that he's going to have to get by, or these two machines that could be side by side. And if they can cause, as car in front of him having issues, that's going to be Roberto Munoz having even more issues, seeing the inside wall, hitting it again, trying to get straight, and due to him going backwards, yellow flag out in the air.
Somebody else locked up coming out of turn 3. I couldn't quite tell who that was, but yeah, tough break for Munoz in the 09 car. He was doing pretty well until that point. That's going to bring out our second yellow, and that's going to save a lot of cars from going a lap down.
Roberto Munoz coming out of turn 2, looking exactly like what happened to Sarah Tessum, able to save it once, try to get back on the gas, just a little bit too much power, digging in the front end just a little bit. That should be not too much damage for that 09, should be able to get back out there, but we'll need a new wing for sure after that little ding.
Yeah, and that's going to put a damper on his progress. Hopefully it's nothing more than a wing that they have to replace, but judging by how hard he hit the wall, I don't think that that's going to be the only thing. All of our drivers are on pit road now, including our leader, and it looks like that one driver staying out. That would be the 8. He can't pit right now because he is a lap down.
Yeah, so the 8 should be getting that position back. Now, the wave around system is implemented here, so we will see if South gets his lap back or not here, as you're seeing your front runners getting back out onto the track after pits, and not a lot of changes going on under pit road. I didn't see anyone really lose or gain, except for, actually, I take that back. I think our biggest loser on pit road is going to be Eric Gonzalez, that was running in 4th place, dropped all the way back to 8th.
Those pit stops seem pretty quick. I know they took tires, and what makes me wonder what happened to Eric Gonzalez. Like you said, he was running up in our top 5, and now all of a sudden here he is back here in the 8th position. He must have gotten caught up on pit road. Maybe he couldn't quite get out.
Yeah, it looked like either someone slowed him up before he get to his box or something, because he lost about 2 seconds just running down pit road. It wasn't that his crew hurt him. It might have been something else on pit road.
Yeah, this is a really small pit road, and the pit boxes are so close together that if you get caught behind somebody, you almost have to wait for them to get out of the box before you can actually get out. And especially if you don't have a good enough angle on that you can angle your car to get out before someone else leaves, and you're basically just, again, sitting at a red light hoping the guy in front of you goes.
And these drivers getting ready to go as we're almost at lap 50 already. I mean, Anthony, we said this is a short track. They're putting down some blistering lap times, but were you expecting us to already be almost a lap 50 for our second caution?
No, not in my wildest dreams that I think that we get to this point. And it's crazy to see how fast these laps go by. And I mean, again, 15-second laps at a 3/4 mile track. That's pretty. I mean, you're going pretty fast if you're pulling those amount of lap times. And the fact that there's only 180 laps, we're sailing towards one of our fastest races of the season.
Yeah, looking at most of the season, it's been a quick one for sure, as this is race number 7 of the season. Just an update for everyone that's watching. We in FRN will be having an off week next week for fuel. We'll be back on the 17th for us being at Silverstone. So going back to another road course after being at one last week, which these drivers will be having a good time for. And it looks like Doug South was able to get that lap back, as we are now at the 1 to go. Lights are out. We're going this time by.
70 car is still on pit road, has not left yet. That is bad news bears for the 70 car of Tara Tessum. Jason Brophy, your leader. Mitch Welker is going to be 3rd, and then Riley Thompson is going to be your top 3. We're going to be restarting on lap 49 out of 180, and once we get the green, we should see these cars go right back to how fast they were previously.
All the way on the high line, blocking any chance of a pass. It's going to be Jason Brophy back to the green with 133 laps to go.
Looks like Nick Johnston's going to have a run at Riley Thompson down into turn 1. Did not have enough speed in order to do it, but it's going to have a run down into turn 3. Thompson is trying to run the defensive inside line, but we've seen that Johnston is working kind of the middle lane like we said earlier. He's going to go down the inside of Thompson into turn 1. Side by side coming onto the back stretch. Still, Thompson with the advantage.
Yeah, that's actually going to be Will Roberts on the inside, able to make that pass now on Nicholas Johnston, as Johnston now trying to figure out and bobbing and weaving in that one machine, losing that position there, and Will Roberts now up to 4th place. We'll see if the one machine can fight back, as up front our front 3 all gapped out between a half a second each between all those drivers, as really everyone is stacked up behind that 27 machine of Will Roberts.
That is Will Roberts. I was looking at the wrong thing. I thought that was the top 3, but oops. That would be Will Roberts, and back here you have Danny Roberts trying to catch Nick Johnston now. Looks like they're kind of trying to run him down, but it looks like everyone's kind of gotten... Whoa! Somebody got squirrely. That was David Kalb. No, that was not David Kalb that got squirrely out of turn 3. I think that was Eric Gonzalez who got squirrely out of turn 3. Almost locked up the tire trying to get onto the backstretch, but he's still going. That could have been disastrous for the 42.
Yeah, these drivers right now, it's been a lot of getting loose out of 2 or out of 4. And it's a lot. And it's primarily because of how much the pressure and how much gas they're giving their machines out of this corners. If they can ease into going full throttle, they'll be all right. Some guys that just get a little too excited, just slam on the gas and take off.
Speaking of someone that might have done that, Brent Jones is on pit road, and he's got a substantial amount of wing damage. I don't know what happened to him, but another victim of the racetrack, it seems, and he's an extended stay on pit road. I think he's now 5 laps down, so this happened at the restart.
Yeah, some drivers decided to come into the pits, and Brent Jones, heavy damage. Yeah, that's actually going to be Bommersbach, who's having issues there in the 37.
Now he's back going the right direction, and maybe he got spun. I don't think he got spun. I think he might have lost it out of 4. It doesn't look like there's any damage on that car, though. Maybe he was able to keep it off the wall.
If there was any damage, it might have been on the back end, and also looked like Chad Simpson might have tapped the rear bumper of Bommersbach there, and we'll have to wait and see if Simpson decides to come into the pits or not, but still, contact made between those drivers. We'll wait and see. But at the moment, we have a total of 17 drivers on the lead lap, and we're on lap 58, inching closer and closer to that halfway marker of lap 91, and then we'll see how these drivers can finish this race out. But 3 cautions early in this race, and all have been self-spins. Just shows how tricky this track really is for all these drivers.
It's deceptively tricky. You don't expect it to be that way, but when you actually get down onto the racetrack and try to drive it with any bit of competitive speed, you'll find that it's actually kind of daunting when you sail it into turn 1 and think it'll stick, and then all of a sudden it's not, and you have to figure out how to run it. A lot of drivers attest this track to like a mini Daytona almost. I don't know if it's because of the shape. I've never really quite gotten a straight answer to why they call it that, but it's definitely proven to be a fast one tonight, and we're seeing the Daytona aspect of it with how fast these lap times have been. And again, it's just a tough break for one of these drivers who've tried to get power down and couldn't quite hold it on the line, and lucky to get out of that one and escape with only some tire damage.
Yeah, I mean, I can see this as a mini Daytona just based off of the track and the way that it's designed. But yeah, it's so quick. You're hard on the brakes, trying to make sure you don't overshoot coming into these corners, and you're also trying to hug the yellow line as much as you can, but not crossing it. There's just so much technical racing that you have to do at this track, and that's not even taking in the factor that's been taken out a lot of these drivers on how to exit out of the corner properly so you don't ruin your day.
I want to give a quick shout out to one of the drivers who managed to really make some moves that last run, and that was Will Roberts, able to bypass. I think he bypassed 2 cars on that restart, and he's finding himself up in the 4th place position. We've seen a lot of these drivers make some pretty good moves up through the field, and I don't know. Do you think we'll still have to make a pit stop now that we've had our pit stop? You think these drivers can make it all the way, or are we going to see another pit shakeup?
I believe they still need to do at least one more pit stop, just based on when they took the pits. I think once they make it to lap 75, 80, once they pit around there, they should be good to the end. But at the moment, I believe they're about 10 laps short. Even with these caution laps, I don't think they're going to be able to save that much fuel to make it to the end, nor I don't think their tires will be able to make it to the end.
Yeah, if we're seeing a lot of these spins happen when the tires are relatively fresh, and once these tires get broken in, they're going to lose grip. They might become a little bit more stable and more predictable. I'll have to find out. So a lot of these drivers, these mid-pack runners, have kept it clean and kept it close, and we've seen people like Matt Holliday and Mike Rigney. They've run close to each other, and they've been able to keep it clean between the two of them. The mid-pack is the most competitive spot to be in, and you got to keep an eye on them because there could be some major shakeups in these sectors.
Yeah, I mean, it's been about from 4th place all the way down to 11th, where the drivers have just been on top of one another all race long, and then there's usually a gap until we get to the cars behind. But pace car lights are off. We're going to be going this time by coming to lap number 63 once we go green, and it's going to be Jason Brophy leading the charge once again, and really he gets such a huge launch that it looks like he's all by himself, as we are now 118 laps left to go.
Mitch Welker tried to stay with him this time. He's been getting better at timing the restarts. He's kind of catching when Brophy goes, and he's going to be kind of closer than he was these last times in the battle for 3rd place between Will Roberts and Riley Thompson. Roberts to the inside, trying to make the pass done, but again, that middle line seems to be the best line at the racetrack at the moment.
It just is enough to hold off the cars from behind, to lock them off if they try to make a run. It also doesn't give enough space to get under you, as it looks like Riley Thompson doing enough at the moment to hold back the 27. Other drivers behind them that have made some charges forward. Danny Roberts as well has been kind of trying to follow suit with Will Roberts, as both of them started around the 8th place position and been slowly working their way forward.
Yeah, they have. They got a really good restart, and they've been able to utilize that speed in order to stay up in this top group competitively. There's a battle going on the racetrack, though. I just looked on the relative, the 42 of Mike Hurley and Chad Simpson. They're having a pretty good duel at the moment. This is for the 13th position, and now they're running really close. They're actually reeling in Barrett Rolfe, last week's winner, who at the moment running in the 12th position. This is a battle for 12th between these three cars, and it's getting pretty heated.
They're still running as hard as they can. Will Roberts, though, having issues out of 4. That 27 machine, I didn't want to jinx them, but usually when the 27 is doing well up front, something goes wrong, and another machine caught off of from that coming off of 4 incident once again.
I'm willing to bet that he got loose and tried to save it. He did save it, though. He's back running, and you got to think that might have kind of scared him a little bit. He's going to be fighting to get back through the field, and if he can get a lucky yellow, then he might be able to stay out, but those tires have got to be cooked. I wouldn't imagine that he'd be competitive running on those tires for very much longer.
No, they've got to be at least cooked in some fashion. Might be a little bit of suspension issues after going through the grass, so multiple issues could be going on with that 27 now, as he's back on course trying to run down south, but drivers we are watching is, oh no! Danny Roberts as well having issues, hitting outside wall hard, losing that front right wing.
Again, out of the same spot, he's going to go down the pit road. We're still under green. Thankfully for him, that was in an area where he could drive down pit road.
Kolb goes around in the 11, bringing out our caution.
Well, there's your yellow.
And you had that sense just because of how many cars were going around that someone was going to bring it out.
That's a tough break for all these drivers involved. That's horrible, though. We had 3 drivers in the span of 3 laps all have issues at different spots in the racetrack. Again, we're back under yellow. It looks like that maybe Kolb got away with that. I don't think there's too much damage on that car.
Able to spin it, keep it off the wall, but yeah, it's a tall order whenever these drivers, I mean, they're only able to get about 28 laps in, and then they feel like their cars sometimes only 18 laps on those tires, and they feel like they're about to spin it around. Right now, drivers that are coming into the pits, Eric Gonzalez is leading the charge. Actually, I take that back. That's Riley Thompson that is leading the group of cars up front that come in, as he was 3rd. Will be losing a lot of positions after coming into the pits, and a lot of cars staying out.
Now, I don't know if I agree with that call, because I think that track position at this particular track would be the way to go, but they're down and away heading back onto the racetrack, and man, I don't know if I agree with that. It doesn't seem like the tires are really making that big of a difference, and definitely track position has been key at this track.
Well, here's the difference. Before, it was about 15 lap difference. The last time we saw drivers come in and try to get that advantage, and those were drivers that were in the middle of the field. We now have a top 3 contender coming in, and it's going to have about 29 to 30 lap fresher tires than the cars up front. There might be something to gain here by Riley Thompson pitting, but like I said, track position very important, as he'll be back in 11th place.
Yeah, that's a mile long back in terms of how fast these cars have been running. And this is, again, I don't know if I would have done it this early, but we might see something come out of this. Riley Thompson with fresh tires. Now, that might be enough. Maybe if you save some fuel, you might be able to get to the end of the race at this point. We still got a pretty long way to go, though. I wouldn't expect that car to be able to make it, but if a yellow comes out, maybe we'll see some shuffling in the running order.
I mean, Riley Thompson at the moment, our points leader, after having some very solid runs throughout the season with the 21-point gap in it over Bommersbach and Cohen Evans. The driver that's in the lead at the moment, our winner of our first race of the season, Jason Brophy, winning at Twin Ring Motegi. Trying to get another win here today. Right now, Brophy, though, is running back in 7th place in points, 46 points back. So he's looking for Riley Thompson to have not a solid day today and to try to get as many points as possible for this 88 machine.
Yeah, the big points battle, and right now he's going to kind of be happy that Thompson's running in the 11th position. It's not going to last very long. The points battle is very close going into couple races I don't know what I'm trying to say. Going into Silverstone, it's going to be interesting seeing how the outcome of this race is going to affect the points for that race, because it's basically it is a Formula One circuit, and these drivers are going to have to learn how to drive Indy cars at Formula One at an FIA Grade 1 circuit anyway. And if you've raced any Formula One in the past, you might be an advantage there, and that could definitely shake up the points.
Well, it's going to be even crazier because they're running on the legacy racetrack of Silverstone. So it's not even the new paved Silverstone. It's the old track of the old 2008 Grand Prix. Of course, it's Silverstone that they will be running September 17th here on the Flatout Racing Network. You can see all that action that Thursday, and excited to see that action. Pace car lights are off. The 88 machine of Jason Brophy. Feel like we've been doing this for a while. Deja vu. He's leading the way as we go back to green. Coming to 78 laps have been ran, and it's going to be 103 to go.
That time, Welker did not get a good run, and now he's going to go into the clutches of Nick Johnson, who suddenly finds himself up in the third position. Eric Gonzalez is going to come up with him, and they're running down that second-place driver of Mitch Welker, and it looks like that everyone's going to kind of get into a groove again. You think that they kind of want to maybe conserve their stuff. They've seen a lot of drivers have problems on the exits of the turns, and maybe they're going to run a little bit more conservatively, but I don't know if they can afford to do that with how fast these cars are.
Yeah, they kind of need to keep pushing forward, and these laps are going to tick away pretty quick as we're coming up to lap 80 now being finished there. And coming to 101 to go. Something to keep into account, our top 9 are the drivers that are on the lap 35 lap old tires and fuel. And the next car behind them in 10th place, Riley Thompson, already up 1 position. Its next victim is going to be Mike Hurley. And Riley Thompson's got a few drivers following him, as it kind of looks like a hornet's nest back here where these drivers are.
Yeah, Matt Holliday and Kai Bommersbach, they're all running nose to tail. Now, Bommersbach recovered from that spin very well, and he's running now back in the 12th position and being competitive. Again, nothing really happened to that car other than cooking the tires. And up in front, it looks like that Mike Hurley is going to go underneath the 46 of Chad Smith, and he's going to take the position. He's going to bring Thompson right with him. And Thompson, like I said, well, like you said, is on a tear, and maybe those tires are being effective as Hurley came right across the wing, and that could have been disastrous.
I mean, Simpson's already had a ton of issues with his front wing, making contact with 37 earlier, hoping not to have any more issues. Riley Thompson, though, just a little bit of something to look out for just by him getting by that. Traffic is caution to the back.
The 8 is spun around again, I think. Doug South.
Looks like self-spinning again. Oh, actually, I think there might have been a little bit of contact between himself and Evans coming out of 2. We're actually going to take a look at this fully. Coming out of 2, you're going to see Evans gets into the wall, makes South, have to evade, take a weird angle and approach in this corner, and it just launched the 7 around coming out of 4.
Tough break. You'd hate to see something like that happen. This track is so tight. I'm surprised that I'll be honest, I'm surprised we haven't seen this kind of incident happen more often, but man, you never want to see that happen to any driver, and it's unfortunate that it has to happen, and it looks like that Doug South's going to come down pit road.
And certain drivers deciding they're going to be staying out during this, and that's going to be the 77 as well as the 46, and as well as a couple of other machines following suit. As Riley Thompson, surprised to see it, decided to come into the pits with everyone else.
Yeah, that is an interesting strategy, and there's a lot of drivers that stayed out, and the battle off of pit road's going to be won by Brophy, and it was side-by-side between Welker and Johnston. But yeah, there are about five drivers that stayed out this last cycle, and that would include the 77 and the 46, who were running about mid-pack.
You're going to have Kyle, Chad, Matt Hollabaugh, David Kolb, Will Roberts. That's your top 5 that stayed out. Will Roberts has the freshest tires of those 5 machines, 10-lap old tires at the moment. Everyone else following behind all came into the pits. Roberto Munoz, hoping that more drivers would come into the pits, is up front looking to get a wave around, but I do not believe the 09 will get it due to the fact that the 77 did not come into the pits.
Yeah, that's going to be trapped a lap down, and I mean, it'll be the first car that's been trapped a lap down, other than people that have been involved. And well, I mean, I think he was involved though, so it's a tough break for that car.
And Roberto Munoz, after being involved in I believe it was accident number 2 or 3 of tonight, will be trapped 1 lap down. And then you got Evan Adams still in the pits trying to get repairs done after being involved in that last accident. Didn't bring out the caution, but was in the wall right before the caution came out. Drivers that have exited out of the race: Danny Roberts, Brent Jones is in the pits getting repairs still done on that 49. Sarah Tessum is out. Andrew Wood and Cohen Evans, Deserto, as well as Alex Show is going to be all staying, did not put down a lap time, and are done for the day.
Tough. It's a shame for those drivers who never really got going, and Alessio and Desiro, they never really got their race started, and you got to feel bad for them that they, maybe they could have been competitive in this race, and for whatever reason, I don't think they ever got on track, and it's just something happened to those drivers.
Yeah, something possibly could have happened over qualifying to make it to where they could not come. Sometimes, though, you just aren't able to make the race. There is a percentage, kind of a range that it's based off the fastest lap time that gets placed either in qualifying or practice. That is your marker. And then you have to run within the 106 percentage time slot between that fastest lap time and what would be the slowest lap time. If you do not hit in those markers, you are not able to race. That's in every single race that we're in for these drivers. That's at road course and at ovals. So a lot of pressure to run well up front, and possibly those drivers just did not hit that mark.
Interesting strategies. We're about to go to green. Riley Thompson just came back on to pit road and now is back off. He's back at the tail end of the field, and that's interesting. I didn't expect that.
Maybe figuring out, hey, I like the freshest tires out of everyone else, and is going to be trying that strategy out. Back in 15th, but starting up front, it's going to be the 77 and the 46.
Yeah, we're already back under yellow. I think the 56 and the 09 may have gotten contact.
Oh, you hate to see contact like that being made, as we're going to take a quick replay to figure out what brought us under caution number 6.
I'm going to look back too and see what might have happened.
Looking back, possibly it happened around... Oh, it was actually Riley Thompson himself.
At the start, it was a self-spin out of 4.
Luckily did not hit anything, but man, was he trying to wheel that thing around. We'll take another view of this caution from a different perspective from the cockpit, and you'll see how much those hands were moving.
It looks like he got power down too much and just couldn't hold on to it, and that's a tough break. He was actually just getting to the tail end of the field. I think they went green while he was in the middle of the backstretch, so he was already hustling to get back up, and man, that again, that's a horrible... Although that time he went to get fresh tires and already a spin. Hopefully those tires aren't too worn down.
Well, he's already back into the pits trying to get more tires for that 56 machine. Already had the freshest ones out there after that spin. Thought, hey, let's give myself even more advantage.
I mean, if you're at the back of the field and you're not going to go a lap down, might as well, right?
I mean, you might. Yeah. You're not a lap down. Last car on the lead lap. You know Roberto Munoz isn't going to be getting his lap back because the cars in front of him are all still staying out. I'm intrigued to see how these drivers of our top 5 are feeling and staying out, because I know they probably are, at least our top 2 need to pit one more time. I think 3rd to about 5th are on the verge of being there good enough. Everyone else should be good to make it to the end on fuel and tires. So it's going to be interesting to see how this next restart goes for these drivers, and if Riley Thompson can come back, as we're on lap 93 of 180. We're past the halfway marker. We're going to go under a quick commercial break, and we'll be back to see the rest of the action. And we are back. Lap 95, 180. Pace car lights are off. My name is Sam, and I've got Anthony with me. And Anthony, it's been a wild one. Prokrefsky is going to be leading the charge here as we're back under green.
He got a pretty good jump, too, over Simpson. He's going to take off. We've always seen the leader have the advantage, really. He's going to get away again. And back here we have David Kalb losing out to Matt Hollabaugh, I believe. Yeah, that was Matt Hollabaugh that got around, and now he's moved up into third position. Will Roberts is going to fall back to the fourth position, and David Kalb is, who I thought got passed and did not, and now he's running in the fifth position. These drivers still running with the same level of intensity that we've seen since the very beginning, and that almost could have been bad for Mitch Welker and Nick Johnston.
As those two are right on top of one another, kind of formerly teammates in a way, as last season, while Nicholas Johnston was able to get the championship done, he had Mitch Welker in his ear for a lot of the road courses. Now Mitch Welker out here battling for a championship, but up front, Kalb getting passed by a few drivers. You got Brophy trying to figure out how to get under the 11 and will do so, as Mitch Welker will follow suit, as well as Nicholas Johnston trying to get by the 11.
These drivers have much fresher tires. Whoa, Johnston is not content to run behind Welker. That could have been another bad incident down the backstretch. These drivers
Yellow
are running
in the back.
42. I just saw it.
Oh, you hate to see that for Eric Gonzalez as his woes from last season continue. You thought after he got his win this season, things would change. Actually, he didn't get a win. Excuse me. He was running well for most of this season. But contact there for himself. Looks like another self-spin for the 42.
Oh, God. This is a tough break for these drivers. I think that the 42 hit the wall super hard this time, and he actually got, I think, towed to pit road. I don't know if they're going to be able to get that 42 car back out on the track.
Losing the back wing and heavy damage on the back end. That's going to ruin the engine as well. Oh, that's a hard contact for the 42. Oh, man.
It's one of those incidences again where you get ahead of steam and you think that you can put power down, and you definitely can't as much as you want to do it. And tough break for him. And back to live action, it looks like that some of those top three drivers have come down pit road. Chad Simpson is one of them, is in, but confusingly, the 77 of Prokrefsky is stayed out.
Prokrefsky is going to be staying out. He's not the only one that has stayed out from drivers that stayed out on those last couple of cautions. Will Roberts still is out there, as well as Kalb. Those are the three drivers that stayed out on the last caution, the last two cautions, and they continue to do so. Prokrefsky must know something that we don't, or possibly he's trying to set up for a long run. I don't know what this 77 is thinking at this moment, as it is hard to tell from a lot of the drivers that have already pitted and came down again, as Mitch Welker, Hollabaugh, and Chad Simpson, those three drivers are the ones that came in on this pit stop.
You know, I just thought of something that maybe Prokrefsky is hoping for, is that this race does end up becoming what it is, and that's drivers not being able to put power down and self-spinning to bring out yellows. And maybe he's thinking long game. Maybe if these happen enough and this keeps happening, that I can save enough fuel to make it to the end. That's an ambitious strategy. We have a long way to go, more than 70 laps. It'd be almost 77 laps that he'd have to do it. That might be what he's trying, but at the same time, if you go back green and have a long run, then those drivers with fresh tires back there, such as Brophy and Johnston, they could rally their way back through the field, and next thing you know, that you're way off the pace and you need to pit again. And I don't think that's a strategy that's going to work out.
Well, speaking of rallying throughout the field, Barrett Rolfe and that 33 machine is up to 7th place, has cracked the top 10, started all the way back in 18th place, somehow has worked his way forward. With Eric Gonzalez's incident, it's not looking like that 42 is going to be getting back on track, leaving us with 14 drivers on the lead lap. And then one car that is one lap down, that's Roberto Munoz, who is hoping for somebody to please go into for the whole entire front of the field to come to the pits, so then maybe he could stay out and get himself back on the lead lap.
and I think that the 42 of Gonzalez has officially retired. You don't know. He keeps trying to get off and on track. I don't know if that he's trying to maybe fix it or what, but he's definitely not having a happy time on pit road.
Could be voicing some frustration, as Gonzalez was one of our biggest losers in points after last week, losing 7 positions. And another not so great day for the 42. But Gonzalez has been running well, like I said. He's got 1 top 5 this season, 3 top 10s, has a pole, almost got a win a couple of times. So this 42 machine has pace. It's just luck has not been on his side, and that's something that you kind of need to win championships.
Luck and consistency. And if we go back to green, it looks like that Prokrevsky's going to get a nice jump, but Will Roberts kind of stuck with him. That's not a huge jump like we've seen a lot of drivers. In fact, the top 3 got jumped. Nick Johnson, there's a huge gaggle of cars for 4th place. They're right next to each other, and it looks like that Roth's coming through the field. He's going to go underneath the 12 of Mike Wrigley. Wrigley got a run out of 4. That was impressive, and now they're all kind of bunched together. And now for 2nd place, Will Roberts under fire from Jason Brophy.
And Brophy not able to get it done, as well as Rolf is just going to drop into 5th place, as well as Kolb into 6th place, as those drivers getting single filed up. And Mike Rickney, someone that we haven't really talked about much this race. He's someone that we usually see running in the back half of the field. Right now, cracked the top 5.
Yeah, and he's going for a position right now on Johnson. He sails it into turn 3, but not enough. Johnson with a good run through the middle of the track, and it looks like that maybe the middle is going to be the preferred line. Now the 77's around. I think Prokrevsky spun.
Prokrevsky came out of 4 and into the inside wall. Heavy contact for the 77 machine, able to continue going, though. As another caution goes out, it's going to be Mike Hurley in front of him, coming out of 2.
Oh, those were 2 relatively front runners, I think. I think Hurley was running towards the back, but I know Prokrevsky was leading the race. And again, the track claims 2 more victims.
We're going to take a look first at Mike Hurley, who brought out the initial, brought out the caution, and then we'll go back and see what Prokrevsky is coming around. This was a battle around Rolf, and hard contact to the side. Looks like it's damaged the back wing a little bit for that machine, and Mike Hurley, that's not the day you want to have, but luckily that machine looks like it's still good enough to continue running. As now we'll look at Prokrevsky in the 77, who got loose out of 4 all on his own and losing the lead and had a massive lead at that point when he spun it around.
I don't know if that was a tribute to old tires. He almost saved it. I saw there was a moment where he could have maybe saved it. He did keep it off of everything. He didn't make contact with either the outside or the inside pit wall. I think that car might be okay to continue, and if he gets some fresh tires, we might see him towards the front of the field again, but the track just claims 2 more victims, and it seems like that this is going to be the norm. Like, you have to run conservative, and if you want to put power down, you have to be careful, because even the leader isn't safe, as we've seen.
Yeah, proved right there on that last run. Lap 111, 180 here, bringing out caution number 8 of Mike Hurley and Prokrevsky having their issues. And I mean, looking at these drivers, they both were on older tires compared to the rest of the field. Hurley was kind of on the same stint as our top now would be 8 drivers that are on about 26 lap old tires. So still older tires than some of these fresher guys. Prokrevsky was on the much older 50 plus old tires. So it kind of makes sense that if he just made one simple mistake, it was going to cost him. But that goes for all these drivers out. Here's Mike Hurley. He's going to be parking that 32 machine in the back.
That's a tough break for him, and that's an official retirement, I think. And I didn't look like that car had too much damage, but the way he hit the wall, it probably knocked the suspension out of line. And we've seen, even on a good car, the suspension, with a good suspension, that it's easy to spin. And I don't think there's any way that that car could be competitive otherwise. And I think it's the smart decision is to park it, but definitely not the decision that needed or wanted to be made.
Yeah, it really wasn't. Yeah, I know we were questioning Riley Thompson, him making the move to come into the pits multiple times after these last couple of cautions. That 56 machine up to 6th place and almost back to where he once was, which was 3rd before he came into the pits.
Now, I've been watching him steadily on the relative, and he has been making some moves and putting himself into some really sketchy situations, but with those fresh tires, able to plan his car pretty much wherever he wants to. And I'll be darned, he's back. Like you said, he's back here in the 6th place position. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the top 5 or the top 3 within the next few laps.
And just an update on drivers and where they were running up front in points. 3rd in points, Cohen Evans was not able to start out today's race, so he will be losing out on a ton of points here. Something for you as we're talking about points is the fact that these drivers do have a drop race throughout this season to utilize in the 17-round season. Other drivers that had issues, Danny Roberts 4th in points. He got wrecked out. Will be finishing 18th here today. And Roberto Munoz 6th in points. Has been trying to make his way forward and right now stuck 1 lap down in 14th position.
Yeah, and it's not going to help his points stay. And you know, it's we say it in a lot of leagues that consistency is what wins you championships. Maybe not necessarily wins, and this is going to put a hamper on his day. And green flag is out. Roberts is going to get a good run, and Brophy's going to go with him. Johnston did not get a good run, and he's going to slip back into the clutches of Rigney, who is going to maybe try to look. No, he's going to stay to the inside or the middle line and down the back stretch. Woo! Johnston with a very defensive line.
Johnston defending, and we've seen him be aggressive, and now we're seeing him be defensively aggressive here as he's trying to hold off Mike Rigney, as Nicholas Johnston trying to do the best that he can here to hold off. But for the lead, Jason Brophy on the inside gets by Will Roberts.
But Roberts is not going to have any of it. He's going to come back down the front stretch, and he's going to say, nope, I want the lead back, and he's going to go to the inside, try to hold it, but Brophy with a run down the back stretch. There's still wheel-to-wheel down the back stretch. Roberts sails it into turn 3, and it looks like he's going to pull right in front of the 27.
And Brophy's not done yet as he goes to the inside, but now it's bringing in Nicholas Johnston, who as well follows on the inside, trying to get under Will Roberts.
Oh, and he almost went to the wide. He's going to go 3 wide. Oh, and there goes Roberts!
Oh no, the 27 who was up front, under, and also Munoz made contact there.
Oh, Roberts on his roof, and that's gonna be devastating for him. That was that 3 wide situation. I don't think that was smart.
The 77 also has some front wing damage. I think he also made contact there with Will Roberts, but we're gonna go back, show this 3 wide action of Nick Johnston saying, I want the lead, gets the lead, but it comes under the fact that the 27 goes for a ride as coming out of 4. Nicholas Johnston says, I'm taking this lead, makes 3 wide. Brophy knew that, had to move up, and I don't think Will Roberts noticed that they were going to go 3 wide there.
To be fair, there was room for Brophy to come down, and the initial incident happened when Brophy went up the track, so maybe that 3 wide situation could have been avoided. But man, you gotta admit that the amount of steel it took for him to go to the inside, that it took some guts for that 3 wide to happen. That was the first time we've seen 3 wide tonight, and again, bad situation for the 27. But man, what a move!
As drivers are now thinking about going to the pits. Here's an blimp view of what happened, and it just, Will Roberts tried to come down. Brophy had to be nervous about seeing the one machine getting under him, try to give as much room as possible, but that's the one thing, you got to make sure you have room for both drivers when you're the middle car.
Yeah, and that outside line is unforgiving. I don't think that Roberts would have been able to maybe make it through if they had gone to the outside. And man, it's getting to crunch time, and we've seen the track position really does make the difference at this track. And now these drivers have been under yellow for so long that they're not content to run any longer. It's slower laps than they are, and they're going to make some pretty desperate moves. And unfortunately, Will Roberts was the bad recipient of that, as I think Prokresky has officially retired from the race.
Yeah, he had that front wing damage for the 77 as we are still under yellow. We're actually going to go back and see exactly what happened to Prokresky to make it to where he had to sit out the rest of this race. But I mean, that's just a bold move that was being placed there. I mean, 3 wide action is something that you usually don't see here at Richmond, and it's rough whenever you see someone go out there and do these type of bold moves. As right now, on board with the 77 before the wing is taken off.
Ooh.
going through there. You see the width that went down.
Since some wreck avoidance, he was trying to get away from the upside down Roberts and just tagged the inside wall and not able to keep it going. And it's a tough break for the 77. Completely not the fault of his own. He was just trying to avoid something, but ends up taking him out of the race.
And now we are getting set up and ready to go, as Nicholas Johnson's going to be leading the charge. The one machine, we haven't seen him up front very often here today. He's been trying to get up front. He's just been aggressive for every single position he's tried to get.
Yeah, with the way that these yellows are coming out, you gotta, like I said earlier, you gotta be aggressive while you can, and because you don't know when the next yellow is going to come out, because these drivers, these are top tier drivers. It's not like they're bad drivers. It's just that the car and track combo is such a weird combo that we're seeing them struggle out of these turns. And, you know, I would expect this restart to be nothing less than intense.
Nicholas Johnson, our only two-time winner this season, winning both of the doubleheaders at Homestead Miami Road Course. We'll see if we can get win number 3 here, as the pace car is off. Green flag back in the air as we are starting lap 124 of 180, bringing us to 57 laps to go.
Call up to the inside of Rigney for the 3rd place position. Not quite going to be able to do it now. Here comes Brophy to the inside of Johnson. He's going to try and take it. He's going to take it, but not without a fight from Johnson. He's going to try and rally back, but it looks like that maybe Brophy's going to have some clean air, kind of try to scamper away.
He's going to try to scamper away, like you said. A car that's in the top 5, that's going to be Riley Thompson, who almost made it side by side with David Kolb, but decides otherwise. It's now Kolb now going to try to get under Rigney, and does not work.
Now Rigney has got a bit of a gap between them, and it's going to take a little something special in order for Kolb to do it. I think he's going to have a run down the backstretch. He's going to certainly have a go at some point. He's going to go to the middle of the track. Looks like he had to check up, and now it looks like Rigney's going to go away.
Gonna try to pull away the best that he can, but Kolb's just showing that he's got the pace to get to the back bumper of the 12. But here's the thing that's crazy about the 11. He's out there on the oldest tires. The rest of the field on heading from our top 6. The newest tires that we have is on Riley Thompson with 36 lap old tires. Everyone else on 42. David Kolb, who's making a pass here on Rigney, trying to make it done. He's on 54 lap old tires compared to the rest of the field.
Rigney out of 4 the last lap by, had a bobble and almost hit the wall, had to check up, but those fresher tires is definitely proving to be an advantage because he's able to stay in front of Kolb despite that little bobble. And again, the pressure is on though, because Kolb has not gone away. He's trying to find a place to be able to make the pass. Maybe he'll dive down into turn 1. We're about to find out. He actually backs off. It looks like he's setting himself up for the backstretch with a run. Here he comes. Going to be right on the gearbox. I don't think he's going to be able to do it though.
Here it comes on the inside of turn 3. Does not look like he's there just yet, but gets the momentum out of 4. Side by side into 2, into 1.
And he's going to try and make the pass done. He's going to do it, but here it comes. Ooh, Rigney almost got a little loose and almost hit the wall. Now, Kolb is going to pull away from Rigney, and wow, that was an intense little exchange, but everyone's gotten out of it clean.
Other action that's been going on in the back of the pack. Mitch, I'm looking at this 76 machine of Mitch Welker. Freshest tires out there on the track. 11 lap old tires. About 29 lap fresher tires than the rest of the field out there.
Yeah, and he's running really, really fast. He's trying to make some positions up. Now he's on the fire of Matt Hollabaugh. He's going to try and go down to the inside, but he's kind of falling back. Not quite there enough. It's the same situation we've seen a lot where these drivers have a run but can't go anywhere with it and have to check up. And right now running the 10th position, a top 10 run. Not bad for Mitch Welker, who's crawling his way back to the front of the field.
Yeah, Mitch Welker, who was up there in the top 4 earlier in the race, decides it's time to make a move here after coming into the pits on that last caution. These drivers, it's time to start making your move forward, as some of these drivers have been on lap 46 to 49 old tires, and we've got 46 laps to go. This is going to tick away almost instantly if you don't start moving up forward now.
Hollabaugh looks like he's going to try and actually pass Welker. It looks like he's going to try and do it. they're still side by side. No one's seeming to give up any of the advantage, but it looks like they're going to try and settle it out. No, he's going to dive it down into turn 4, or turn 3 rather, and still nothing doing. Welker still in the lead, or yeah, still in front of. Who am I on right now?
I believe you are on
Hollabaugh. Okay, that's Hollabaugh. Okay, Hollabaugh is going to keep it in front of Welker, and now they're running into Chad Simpson.
Yeah, Chad Simpson, he's on the same tires that Matt Hollabaugh's in. And you got Mitch Welker on those much fresher tires. A little update on what's going on up front as we're going to be switching up to Riley Thompson. Thompson trying to catch up to Mike Rickney, and Rickney is no longer trying to pursue now on Kolb, who's up to 3rd place. Brophy is now up to 1.2 second gap between himself and Nick Johnston. And it looks like that gap is continuing to gap forward, moving back to that battle for 9th place as Mitch Welker able to get under and might possibly be able to get this passes. Oh, almost a little contact there.
Yeah, and I was going to do it because I think that Hollabaugh had to go up and check up. And Hollabaugh is going to try and maybe get a run out of turn 4 down the front stretch. He's there. He's going to come down to the inside. Looks like he's going to try and make the pass back onto turn 1. And they're still side by side on the backstretch. These two are glued together, not going anywhere.
But them battling this hard. Here comes Doug South, and South is on the lead lap. That is for position. McCarr in the wrecks up front. That's Riley Thompson.
Oh, we had just mentioned him too. This is devastating. Commentator's curse strikes again, and I bet you it was another self-spin out of 4.
And you would be right, as here comes the replay of Riley Thompson all by his lonesome, coming out of 4 and just loops it around. Luckily, once again, not hitting the wall, but man, these drivers, I think that's the one thing that they're happy about is they have not clobbered the wall for most of them that have self-spun. But man, it's got to be frustrating knowing that you have to go all the way to the back and try to move your way forward as we are less than 40 laps to go in this thing.
Yeah, those laps from the last yellow to this yellow have ticked by super fast, and we're getting down to crunch time. And you think it'd be worth some of these drivers to come down pit road, or you think that they're going to stay out for track position?
I'm imagining most of them are probably going to come into the pits now because it's time to get tires. But as I say that, only our top 7 are coming in. Mitch Welker leading that charge of machines. First car into the pits, though, is going to be Chad Simpson leading Matt Hollabaugh, Doug South, Riley Thompson, and once again, Roberto Munoz, hoping that the whole entire field would come in. They did not, so he will be staying out and continuing to stay 1 lap down, and that's 09.
Welker did not pit. A car that looked like him pitted. We've confused Welker for a couple cars this run, and man, you just got to get different paint schemes, my guy. Like, come on. But no, that was actually Chad Simpson that came down and lead the people on pit road, and him and Welker's car look similar at a distance, and looks like that everyone is going to come back on the track. It looks like Simpson's going to have the lead of those drivers that came back out. He's going to be right behind Welker, and now those drivers with the fresh tires, they're going to have a significant advantages. Someone who does not is Kolb with 71 lap old tires. He's been on those tires for ages.
Yeah, I mean, Kolb's shown that he can run up front with these older tires, but at this point, you've kind of picked what you're going to be stuck with to the end of this thing. I think if we see a caution, though, with about possibly 30 laps to go, you might see some of these front runners pit, but if you know that you're good on fuel to make it to the end, you're pretty much just going to stay out there because these tires, yes, the fresher ones are going to be really dominant right now just because of how different they are compared to everyone else. But it's still, you've got enough older tires between yourself and the cars behind that I think Jason Brophy is feeling a little bit comfortable at this moment.
Yeah, Brophy and Johnson both have the same tire wear as everyone else as they pitted together. And with Brophy being able to get these restarts down, I don't think that he's going to have too much concern on this restart. He's been able to pull a significant advantage over whoever's running in second place lap after lap. But how aggressive will Johnston be? He's been able to size up Brophy, and maybe he'll be able to stick with him this next restart. It's going to be interesting to see them dive into turn 1.
Yeah, when we've seen Brophy has been just every single time he's up in the lead, looks like the most dominant car. He pulled out to over a second gap between himself and Johnston, but Johnston, just if he can get a good restart, you know he's going to be aggressive and try to pounce and get up to the lead as quick as possible.
And let's not forget that David Kalb is still running in third. We've seen him be aggressive throughout this entire race, and just because he's got older tires, he's making them work to his advantage. He might be able to pull something out of his hat, and maybe if these drivers are forced to go 3 wide again, he might be the recipient of the lead.
And that's asking for a lot. Kalb on lap 73, lap old tires, and he's been on that fuel stint for a bit. I think he's been out there for almost 4 cautions at this point in that 11 machine on this run. So been able to save fuel and probably feels good fuel-wise that he can make it to the end. His pace car lights are off. We'll be going this time by as Jason Brophy leading the way in that 88 machine, and we're getting closer and closer to 30 laps to go. And I think at this point, if you're in the back of the field, you cannot pit anymore. You have to pray that the cars in front pit. As green flag back out in the air, coming to lap 148 out of 180, coming to 33 laps to go.
Yeah, and it looks like that Brophy's going to pull out an advantage again, and actually the top 7 really have kind of gotten split apart from each other. The exception being Bommersbach and Rolf are pretty much trying to size each other up as Bommersbach is coming to pick up. Welker is also on the back end of Bommersbach, and they're running pretty close together, and it looks like that maybe Welker with a move. He's definitely trying to think about it, but whoa, where?
Rolf completely slowed up, which then make Bommersbach slow up, and here comes Welker on those fresher tires, and the car's in front of him. But here comes Chad Smith, who Simpson is on the freshest tires out there on track, because they're all wadded up here. They got to figure out how to get this thing solved, because they got to be careful entering these corners.
Oh, Welker to the inside of Ralph. That's going to be him up to his position. Oh, they're running super close, and they have got to be careful. This is where the trouble could happen, and it looks like so far everyone's keeping their nose clean, but Bommersbach is still stuck on the outside line. He's got Doug South to his, well, it was kitty corner, and now he still is, and Doug South has rallied back up the field. He was involved in an incident, now he's going to go 3 wide.
It's working right now, and it will continue to work as Riley Thompson going to have the momentum with him and Oliva through the middle. South's going to drop back. Now you got Simpson trying to hold on the inside as Rolfez again having issues and Thompson involved.
And he's going to take out multiple drivers. Still no yellow, and whoa, it looks like that maybe, I think, who was that? I think that was Bommersbach.
Kite Bommersbach, the 37 machine, hard into the wall, and you knew something was going to happen just based off all that action.
Oh, tough break for all these drivers. That was intense, though. As you said, something had to break. They couldn't run like that for that long, and it finally snapped, and when it did, it took several of our front runners out of the race, and now we're back under yellow with less than 30 laps to go at this point.
As we are going to that place where we saw all the action start out, and that was with the 3 wide action that we were seeing as we are getting our replay system all set up for this.
Yeah, they went 3 wide, and I actually thought that they weren't going to hold on to it, but to my surprise, they did, and got to give credit to those drivers who, despite the odds, managed to make it work. But it's a tough break for drivers such as Rolf, who's running up in the top of the field. He was able to get claw his way up there, and he just gets the wall, and yeah, I feel bad when stuff like that happens. I wouldn't be surprised if he retires after that incident.
Yeah, and Riley Thompson not feeling good about his car as well. And then immediately after, I mean, they went 3 wide through 1 and 2. Coming out of 2, that's when we see Rolf get into the wall. And then after that, that's when we see the 37 just by himself practically getting into the wall in the middle of 3 and 4. It's just a wild sequence of plays that went down there.
And Bommersbach has got some severe crabbing going down the back stretch. I wouldn't be surprised if he retires that car. I don't think they're going to be able to get that repaired before the end of the race. But what I did notice with Bommersbach's incident specifically is he got way up on the racetrack, and all of the rubber has been making its way to the top of the racetrack, meaning that high line, that really high line, is almost impossible to run. There's just too much rubber up there for you to actually get any grip down. And when you get there, you get into the marbles, it'll spin you around, and that's exactly what happened to him as he's on pit road desperately trying to get back to his box.
Guy Bummersbach heading to his box. The car that is parked it is going to be Barrett Rolfe in the 33. Our winner last week at Detroit will not be able to finish here at Richmond. And also, Guy Bummersbach putting his machine into the pit. So Rolfe and Bummersbach both done.
Man, yeah, and like you said, Rolfe had that win last week at Belle Isle, and he had a strong car that entire race. And even though that there was some incidences that happened in that race, he was able to basically run the table on that track. And tonight he's being taken out at Richmond, and again, the track claims more victims, and it's going to continue that way, I feel, through the rest of this race, even though that we're coming to 20 laps to go.
20 laps to go. Cars that came into the pits had minimal damage, able to get damage repaired. It's going to be Riley Thompson and Doug South. Those are the two drivers that came in the pits, got repairs done, got back out there. We now only have a total of 10 cars on the track still running. 9 of them are on the lead lap. Roberto Munoz has just not been having the luck to get the wave around, as you need all the drivers in front of you to go to the pits so you can be in front of the field. Then he'll get the wave around to get that lap back, and just has not been able to get that moment to happen because everyone's just been doing strategies of staying out, and only a few cars come to the pits every caution.
That's true, and at this point, I feel like these drivers could make it all the way to the end, so it's getting a little bit more and more unrealistic for Munoz to get back onto the lead lap. But if things keep running the way that they are, he will be at least guaranteed a top 10 if nothing bad happens. So I don't think he would want to push it necessarily, and especially if another incident happens, then he's right back up in the fight.
And we went back, showed you the 3 wide action, all that. There was some issue on our end on why you guys weren't able to see that last green flag stint. But we are good now. You can see this one, as it's going to be Jason Brophy leading the charge, coming to 160 laps of 180, leaving us with 21 laps to go. And it's going to be a shootout from here to the end. You better start moving quick if you're in the back of the field, because you're running out of time.
I think that some of those drivers like Hollabaugh and Simpson might have heard you, because they're starting to mix it up as Hollabaugh goes to the inside, or attempts to go to the inside. It looks like he's going to think better of it. At the front of the field, the third place position, you have Kolb and Rigney. Rigney's trying to run down Kolb, and so far everyone's kind of minding their own business, and I don't think they're too aggressive right now. You can't afford to be. You got to have your car running at the end, and I think we're seeing a product of these yellows. These drivers are being less aggressive. They don't want to use up their stuff too quickly, and that could affect the outcome of the race.
And Hollabaugh trying that outside line that we saw the 37 have issues with, but the 02 trying to figure out a different lane that might make him be able to get by the 46 of Chad Simpson. Not really working at the moment, as Mitch Welker on the back bumper of the 12.
Yeah, Rigney got a little bit weird line into turn 3 and 4 that last time, and Welker just seems to have a faster car, and he has much fresher tires. He's going to be right on the back wing, and he's going to go to the inside in turn 3. So far, it's still... he went up the track majorly.
You know, we started this thing off with 21 laps to go. We've almost gotten to 15 laps to go once they cross the line. Mitch Welker trying to get under the 12, not able to do so. Is this the battle for 4th place? The battle for 3rd is starting to heat up just slightly, as David Kolb is catching up to the 1 of Nick Johnston.
That'll be a battle for 2nd place by the time they get down to it, and they're running out of time though. They're on laps. They're coming to take lap 67 or 167 of 180. They're running out of time, but they're going to make any moves. They've got to do it, and they got to do it quick.
As these drivers are still single filed up, side-by-side action for 4th place finish. Rigney and Welker, they continue to battle on side-by-side, and almost contact there for the wall for Rigney, and almost contact for Welker into Rigney.
They were running out of racetrack super fast, and they're almost on top of each other again. They're right wheel to wheel. Welker not content to go anywhere else, and Rigney is definitely not wanting to give the spot, and it looks like that Welker's just going to make it work down the front stretch.
And looks like it will be confirmed, but Hollabaugh and Simpson both coming. Update for Riley Thompson. That machine has dropped back down to 9th place and extremely off the pace. Might have collected himself into the wall or got loose and saved it.
Now that's a tough break for them too, and Again, a track that is almost too tough to tame for these cars. I know that's kind of Darlington's shtick, but it's proven to be this one's too, and it looks like the Hollabaugh is going to try and go underneath of Chad Simpson for the 6th position. Could not get it done. Now here comes Doug South trying to take on Hollabaugh.
Doug South, we've seen him be collecting a couple of wrecks. He was involved in a self-spin at the start of the race. That 8 machine has slowly made his way forward, and now in the top 10, possibly could get a 6th place finish if he can get by the 2 machines in front of him. But up front, it is all Jason Brophy. South almost runs right into the 0-2 of Hollabaugh.
Man, this is the tightest battle on the racetrack at the moment. It's for the 7th and 6th position by extension of Simpson, and man, they're not content to run. They got to get all the points they can. I think the 11 might have spun. He's slow.
He did spin, came out of 2, self-spun it, and got wing damage. That's going to bring everyone up at least a position from 3rd on back. Actually makes contact, though, with the water barrels as they continue to fight on here for 5th place. 7 laps to go for Jason Brophy. 6 laps to go once he crosses the line. This 88 machine has less than a second gap on himself and Nick Johnston, and I think Johnston might be gaining on the 88 machine.
If he's gaining, it's by a little bit at a time, but he's only got 5 laps to do it, and the way that these are going by quick, he's got less than maybe 2 minutes in order to get this done. He's got to put on one heck of a run, but I think the 88 might have the advantage. Johnston, though, trying his best, still within a second.
Johnston trying all that he can in this one machine. Already has 2 wins this season, trying to make it 3. But here's the thing, Johnston won last season's championship, and it wasn't based on ovals. He got consistent runs at ovals with getting top 5, top 10 finishes, and then he would win and dominate at the road courses. So really, if he's trying to do the same blueprint that he did last season, this top 3 finish is brilliant for the one machine.
He's doing a great job of it too, and he's within 1 second. He's actually within 7/10 at this moment in time. He actually is running down, but I don't think he has enough time to do it. 2 laps to go for your leader, and 3 laps to go. My bad. 3 laps to go, and
no, it's 2.
It is 2. Yeah, you're right. The laps just restarted, but he is closing. I don't think it's enough time though.
No, he's only been able to gain 3/10 in 3 laps. He's got to gain now 7/10 in 1 lap. We're on the white flag. Jason Brophy, the 88 machine, leading the way here at Richmond.
Down the backstretch, final time. Nick Johnston not close enough to do it out of turn 4. Jason Brophy gonna win tonight at Richmond.
Brophy gets his 2nd win of the season. His first one, the first race of the season at Twin Ring Motegi. Now gets it done here at Richmond. These ovals, always a threat to see the 88 get the win, and he does here tonight. Other really close battles that went down, it looked like Chad Simpson able to hold off the 0-2 of Matt Hollabaugh. But honestly, I think a lot of these drivers are just excited this race is over because it was a long one and it was a tough one for a lot of these drivers.
Yeah, the track was extremely hard to figure out tonight, and you got to give credit to these drivers who did make it to the end without getting any incidents. They were able to keep the speed and able to get around, and congratulations to Jason Brophy for figuring out this track, and he takes a very spirited win here tonight. It wasn't easy. He had to work for it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, these tires did not drop off very much. I mean, our front 2, adding also Mike Rigney, all those drivers were on these tires for 94 laps. And the crazy thing, their lap times only were off by about 2/10 from their best lap time. They were not losing speed that much as this run went on.
No, not at all. It was basically hot laps every single lap, and you had to. The amount of competition tonight was intense, and you couldn't afford to run slow, and the tires held up. A much harder compound than we're used to running at some of these tracks, and they did hold up quite a bit.
And looking at the results, I mean, Jason Brophy getting the win here today. Nick Johnston, Mitch Welker, your top 3. I think based off these drivers, I think Doug South probably the surprise comeback story of all these drivers out here. Riley Thompson, once again, unlucky, was not able to get a top 5 finish here. I think he had a top 5, if not a top 3 car. Roberto Munoz was waiting almost over half the race for himself to get a wave around, was not able to get it, so 9th place for him. And then from 10th on back, all the machines that were caught up in some type of incident and was not able to finish out this race.
That's a long list. Over half the field had some incident that happened, and David Calbon, coming down to 3 laps to go, he got a little bit loose and ended up into the wall, and we've seen that so much tonight. Drivers like Bomberschbach, Rolf, last week's winner, Pokrevki, Roberts, Hurley, Gonzalez, all these drivers, even all the way down to Tessum and Wood at the very beginning of the race, all of them having some form of issue, and it's disheartening. You don't want that to ever happen to a driver, and tonight, unfortunately, I think it took out half the field, and just the nature of the race tonight, I don't think there was any way to avoid it.
There really wasn't any way to do it at all, as drivers are getting into the booth. It looks like we have our top 3. We're going to be bringing in Mitch Welker as our first driver here today. Mitch Welker, it's Sam and Anthony up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
I mean, that was a long race with a lot of different tire strategies because of all the cautions that came out. How was that race for you overall, though?
I can't say I'm disappointed. It's definitely a lot better than last week at Belle Isle. Good to rebound. They need to work on consistency, but this is a good way to kick off maybe a run of nice finishes. I maximized the strategy that I did, and I can't be disappointed with an oval podium ever. So.
Yeah, Mitch, I mean, it's a short track, a lot of hard braking. We saw that drivers were having struggles coming off the corner. Were you surprised at all, though, by the fact that drivers that were on older tires and newer tires, it really wasn't that much of a difference?
No, I wasn't surprised, really. The way iRacing sets this car up, or at least in fixed, and the way we went with it as well, is with the double plane wings. So the car was absolutely planted. Tire wear really wasn't an issue. It was, if you were past 10 laps on the tires, then it was just about, can you overtake well? How's your racecraft? It didn't matter. So, yeah, not really surprised at all on the tire wear there.
And then, Anthony, you got any questions here for Mitch?
And we did see that you had to rebound. You were at the front of the field, fell back to the front, or to the back, to the mid pack, and then had to come back through the field again. Was it difficult to make passes here tonight? We saw that there was pretty much only really one groove that worked around. You could make the inside line work if you got a good enough run in. Was it more or less one groove, or how difficult was it?
Yeah, it was tough for sure. I made like 4 odd-track overtakes the whole night. It was all about setting up your line and having, like I said before, good racecraft. You could make the outside work to defend really well. Matt did with me, for sure. I eventually got him on the inside, and if you could dive it hard enough to the inside and actually make it stick and run the correct line and get out with the same run that the other person did going into the next corner on the inside again, you'd probably have him. And that's what I took advantage of. So, yeah, it was difficult to overtake, but it was a lot of fun to race. It wasn't a very one groove situation.
Now, Mitch, we know last week at Belle Isle it didn't go the way that you wanted, but in 2 weeks we're going to Silverstone. How are you feeling about going back to another road course?
I'm really happy. I always love to drive this car on road. It's helped me in the past. I want to say, all 7 of my wins in this series have been on road. So I like road, and I like the Silverstone bridge layout. So look out for a special paint scheme for that too, and hopefully I'll be up front there as well.
We can't wait to see it, Mitch. Well, before we let you go, we're going to give the floor off to you for any shout-outs.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Sarah. I know she had a tough night and ended up crashing early on, but she helped me make the strategy call around lap 100 or so, which put me in the position that I was. And, ultimately it didn't work out the way I wanted, but I'm still pretty happy with going forward and just trying something different. So thanks to her. Thanks to the rest of the Project 2 team for being behind my back. Thanks to the All-American iRacers and 704 Racing, or 703, I believe it is, whatever the other team is with Will and Kite. And all those guys, we have a server together, and they've really been supportive when I've gone through the hard times of crashing and having poor finishes. It's not been good on me, but they've been behind me the whole way, and I'm just really happy that they're there. So.
Well, that's Mitch Welker in the 76 machine coming out with a third place finish and a podium. Well, congratulations on the podium finish, and have a good rest of your night there, Mitch.
Thank you much.
And now we're going to be bringing in second place finisher Nick Johnston into the booth. Nick, it's Sam and Anthony. You got us, bud?
Yep.
Well, you almost got Brophy there. I think if you had another possible 15 laps or so, you possibly could have caught up to the 88 machine. But was there anything that you could have done in those last 20 laps or so?
No, I don't think so, guys. I was pretty much from 10 to go there. I was pushing as hard as I had all race and just trying to give it everything I could, using the tools to work with the car. Honestly, Jason is like top tier, best of the best when it comes to the IndyCar and the oval stuff. So just to be on the same straightaway as him, I was pretty happy with that. I think he was doing the old Mercedes strategy of win as slowly as you can. So I don't really think I had a ton of pace over him at the end. I think he was just kind of driving. So it is what it is. I'll take a second place here tonight. The car basically scared me the entire 180 laps. So just to come home with all the wheels on it and car in one piece, I'm pretty happy with that.
Well, speaking of scare, we saw you take it and make it 3 wide and make it work for yourself on the blow side. What was going through your mind when you decided I'm going to make this 3 wide into 3?
Well, what I was thinking was it's so hard to pass here. And those guys were fiddling with each other side by side every other corner that are getting terrible runs. And the track is 8 cars wide. And I know if I can get in there and hold it on the yellow line, then maybe I come out as the leader. Maybe I come out just ahead of Will and Jason keeps going ahead, something. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's apparently too aggressive or what the deal is there, but the track's 8 lanes wide, and looking back at it, I feel if other drivers do other things, then we make it through that perfectly fine. But that's just my opinion personally. I've always been an aggressive driver, and I'm not changing it.
Yeah, it was. Oh no, go on, Anthony.
Well, you kind of needed to be aggressive. We saw that passing was really difficult tonight, and from our perspective, it was it was a bold move, but one that I think had to be done. We saw all race long that self spins were kind of what was going to happen, and you said that earlier that the car kind of scared you the whole race. And with the amount of self spins we saw, what was it hard to get power down tonight? Was that the issue? Was the track too slick? What was going through your mind?
Well, with the sun out during the early part of the race, it was really slick off of 2 and 4. So managing your cross weight to get the car to turn into the corner, but then when you get on the throttle on exit, you don't overload the right rear and spin out. So that was a balance the whole race. And then towards the end, once the nighttime came and the track temp fell, the car gained a lot of grip. You can still tell that like it was ready to make you pay at any part, but it was a little bit easier than it was in the first half of the race. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, completely. Well, Nick, I know I asked Mitch the same question, but I got to ask you now. You didn't really have the race you wanted at Belle Isle last week. Both you and Mitch had some issues early, but we're going to Silverstone in 2 weeks. How are you feeling about going back to a road course?
If I make it past turn 2, I'll be happy. I love these things on road courses. That's my bread and butter there. I love driving them at the high speed road courses and finding the grip there and stuff like that. These short ovals, I'm really a fish out of water. Like I can finish decent, top 5, whatever, but like I don't think I'm at the level just yet to contend with the likes of Brophy or even Will Roberts. I mean, he's one of the faster guys on these short ovals. So to be able to finish decent here and then be able to look forward to some of the road courses where I'm a lot more comfortable with the cars, great.
Well, it's road courses that helped you win the championship last season, and looking like you're trying to do the same blueprint that you did to win last season this season. Nick, before we let you go, we're going to give the floor off to you for any shout-outs.
Yeah, thanks, guys. First off, thanks to you guys for broadcasting this stuff. You guys do a great job week in, week out, and provide great coverage. Love having you guys do this every week. The Fuel Racing League for putting all this on, letting us race Thursday nights in the IndyCar. I have a great time here and enjoy racing with these guys. And everyone watching, if DJ's out there, Danielle, all you guys, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Well, that's Nick Johnston in the number 1 machine getting the second place finish here today at Richmond. And congratulations on the podium finish, and have a great rest of your night.
We'll see you guys.
And now we're going to be bringing up Jason Brophy up into the booth. Jason, it's Sam and Anthony up in the booth. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Well, that seemed like pretty easy once you were up in the lead. How was it, though, when your hands controlling these cars that looked extremely loose?
Oh, yeah, there was nothing easy about it. Basically, I spent the entire race in the lead just going as fast as really as slow as I could is the better way to put it, but as fast as I needed to stay in front by a second or so that if I had a little slip I could hold it, but I was not at all going to try and push the car. It was a little on edge, especially kind of mid-corner to exit. If you weren't paying attention or you tried to pick up throttle too quick, it would just snap the back end around and you'd be out of it. So you had to be real easy on the throttle. But happy I was able to kind of hold track position, play the strategy right tonight. So
we saw that you were having a little bit of fun there with Will for the middle part of this race, and then a little bit of contact made between yourself and Will once you saw Nick get under you. Were you just not expecting to see that one machine get under you at that moment?
I didn't think anyone would have the guts to try and send it 3 wide into 3 at Richmond from the bottom. And so I called 3 wide and held the middle because I did not have any faith that it was going to be a hold in reality. I should have just lifted out of it. I think I would have had the pace to be able to make the pass. So I think I could have gotten out of it there. But it was just one of those things. You have someone trying to dive it 3 wide to the bottom. I'm not gonna go right down their door because we might all 3 have died at that point. So hindsight, I should have lifted. I feel bad for Will. He'd run good. He played it even better than I had on the strategy part, and we were having a good battle there. Got past. I got a little too conservative. He shot it right back up the inside. It was all clean, and then a third challenger emerged.
And that was a pretty bold move to the inside of the racetrack. We were noticing that a lot of drivers, especially in the middle of the field, were having a lot of battles, and what was battling hard on this racetrack, we certainly with the grip level being as low as it was, we saw a lot of cars sliding, a lot of self spins, and you had to battle a bunch to get back to the lead after having pitted and having a few drivers stay out. Was battling on the track any harder than running by yourself, or was it how much of a challenge was it?
I'd say it's always a little harder to battle someone just because you're afraid that you don't want to take anyone out. I mean, in the end, and I feel bad for Will, but you really don't want to get close enough that they end up getting sent to the wall. And so you're trying to be careful. And with the way the set was, especially if you're side by side in the bottom with someone 1 and 2, if you get right down there, there's a little bump right in that yellow line. It's where you want to be if you're going to carry speed. But you catch that bump, it'll also upset the car and just send you straight around. And so there's a lot of danger in that. It made completing the pass, you had to have a good corner, and you had to have them struggle a little off the exit. I think Will was pretty good there on the exit of the corner on the outside to make sure that you couldn't just, the person on the inside couldn't muscle or couldn't just kind of own the lane once they got to 3. You were even enough, or he even had a little lane ahead. And that meant you couldn't just kind of widen your line out to enter in 3, so you had to keep it tight, and then he'd clear off. So it was difficult in the sense that I was never quite sure that the back end of the car was under me until I was on the straightaway. So,
well, Jason, you get your second win of the season, and it came at a great time of the season, coming to the midway point. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
I want to thank Will for putting this on, Evan for working. I think that I should say the set was really it was terrifying to drive, but I think it put we had passing, we had stuff like that. I mean, give a shout out. I know this is just the baseline this is the baseline set for the Majors Garage. So I think Liam Quinn builds the sets there. Give him a shout out because I know those sets here are also fast, especially the driver ones. They're just a step above these. So these are just slightly enhanced fix sets. And then Craig Setup Shop. I'm on Team Talent. You saw Andrew. He started the race here on the pole. We put 1-2, and then he struggled a little. So good to race with him again. Running a couple of these races. And you guys, thank you for broadcasting.
That's Jason Brophy running the 88 machine, getting the win here today in Richmond, his second win of the season, and really is going to be a bump, helping him in the points for the future endeavors. Have a great rest of your night there, Jason, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Anthony, it's been a wild night for sure for these guys, and it started off with us seeing cars losing it by themselves, and it kind of ended off with that as well.
Yeah, from start to finish, everyone's aggression level was at a peak high, and I think it was just the nature of the track. You were never not around somebody, and I think that might have maybe messed around with some drivers. They were trying to maybe run some hot laps and couldn't quite find that place that they needed to put their car in order to do that, but we did see some blistering fast laps, and those drivers that were able to hold on to it put down a fantastic show for us tonight, and I'm glad I got to call it with you.
Yeah, it was a wild one here at Richmond. Remember, this is only round number 7 for these guys, and it will continue on in 2 weeks when they go to Silverstone to run the 2008 Grand Prix scheme map track for those guys. It's been a long night, a lot of action. You didn't know who was going to survive, but we saw tonight. It was the 88 machine that got it done. I want to say thank you, Anthony, for coming on board and being part of the booth here tonight. And thank you for being up here.
No, it's my pleasure. It's always fun to do open wheel cars, and I commentate with you for the Slipstream League, and it kind of felt like home. And except we're on ovals going much quicker,
much quicker, and they are just being dangerous all over the place. Well, as we're coming to a wrap up here tonight, just want to say, if you want even more racing action, it continues on tomorrow night as the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series go to Darlington at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a fun one to watch for those guys as they're inching closer and closer to playoffs. But for myself, Sam, this is Anthony. You got to watch another presentation of the Flatout Racing Network, and have a great rest of your night.